Good evening, Sir Craig. I am going to present to you my topic assigned to me. It's entitled Ethical Guidelines and Considerations in Research. Three things I'm going to discuss this evening: ethical standards in research writing, which I believe very relevant and important as a newbies in research. And I guess some of you here, especially my classmates in research subject, I hope this will help you a lot, no? Especially in writing your research. Because as I know, we are given already topic, and I think one of the chapter that we're going to develop or to create is chapter 1 of the research writing. So I hope this can be of help. Now, this evening I'm going to discuss with you number 1, honesty with professional colleagues. The other one is protection from harm, and of course, right to privacy. In as far as ethical standards in research writing is concerned. Now, what is honesty? No, honesty means we need to report findings with complete honesty. So if we have this research paper and that we are copying ideas from an author, of course, we need to be honest and of course acknowledge, and at the same time you have to make sure that the author is properly cited. Another one is if we have known someone who I guess is copying um, an output, a research of an author to the real owner of the research or the real author of the research, so that they can also be given appropriate actions if there is a need. Number two, do not intentionally misinformation, mislead, or misinterpret. So I guess this means that by all means we should not mislead other our readers, other researchers with portraying or showing a research output that is not yours. Bullet C, that means is to give appropriate credit when using others people work. I think this is very sabotable. So I do not explain it further since it's very clear. The other one, bullet D, is that avoid plagiarism by fully acknowledging all content belonging to others. So anything that you don't have, please, or anything that is not coming from you, please acknowledge and of course give credit to someone who really works hard for it. Okay? Moving forward, it's protection from harm. What does this protection from harm mean? Bullet A, it says researchers should not expose their participants to physical or psychological harm. This means that you have to keep secret to the utmost way. Meaning to say, we should not divulge information of a particular participant. So also to protect them from any physical or psychological harm. Bullet B says here, participants should not be exposed to unusual stress, embarrassment, or loss of self-esteem as a result of their participations. My dear classmates and of course Sir Craig, research mean we will be studying a lot of things. It might involve or include research that is somehow can embarrass our participants if we were not able to protect their privacy and we will not secure them, their details, their personality as a whole. So, our obligations to our participants may not only limited to during our gathering of informations, but even right after getting informations from them. Rest assured that the details that we have coming from them will still be secured, and that they will not be exposed to anyone, so that we can avoid embarrassment or as a result may lose their self-esteem. Another one, bullet C, is that in case the study contains a certain amount of stress or psychological discomfort, the participants should be aware of it and must explicitly express their consent to participate. So, well, if we have this research that is somehow involve maybe a stress on their part, psychological discomfort in the end, or maybe while doing the research, please religiously we need to make them aware of it and of course inform them so that before we can proceed with our research they would have this idea already of what's going to happen and what kind of um, stress they might have in the coming days whenever we will be starting our research paper. Right to privacy, what does it mean? Right to privacy mean, bullet A says researchers should protect the privacy of their participants. Very clear. As mentioned, aside from the privacy, you also have to protect their physical and of course psychological, emotional, no, so that their well-being will not be affected whatever is the outcome and will not be embarrassed somehow. Bullet B, the nature of quality of individual participants' performance should be kept strictly confidential. With this part, this is very clear that whoever participated our research paper, we must maintain to the fullest extent the confidentiality of the data gathered, as of course to protect them and of course to secure that they will not be embarrassed or somehow maybe bully because of the leak information should which for me should not be, because we as researchers we already know what will be the cost and effect. Bullet C says researchers should also consider the privacy of the participants by protecting the electronic data containing their confidential responses from hackers in the virtual space. We all know hackers are just around. We don't know who they are. What I'm trying to tell you guys is that again, we should be careful data posted online and we need to protect data gathered to the full extent, because once it is exposed and can be hacked, you are not only damaging your research output, research writing, but of course data of your participants who participated your research paper. I hope this can be an awakening to everybody, especially that we are now in the virtual world, in the technology world. Anything can be possible. So extra careful and think before you click. To make research of any kind that is acceptable and within the bounds of what is ethical, the following must be addressed, according to FINEL of 2017. In authorship, that's number one. Authorship meaning the person who wrote the entire paper must be given due credit. Ika nga nila kay Juan, kay Juan, kay Maria, kay Maria. An author is an individual who made a significant intellectual contribution to the study. Author is considered to be an author if he or she was able to met these criteria three criteria. Bullet 1 says here, an author can be called an author if he or she has substantial contribution to the study, conception and design, data acquisition, and of course analysis and interpretation. So meaning You can also be called an author if you have substantial contribution to the research paper that you have conducted. As mentioned, you should have should be part of the conception thing, meaning from the analysis stage, from the formulation stage, the design, and of course data gathering. Another one, drafting or revising the article for intellectual content, meaning you are part of those times wherein you have drafted your research paper and of course make a revision of it. And then on the final revision, upon approval or within the approval, you are there. And that will make you part as an author of that research writing. Some unethical practices in authorship are misconduct. What do you mean by misconduct? Misconduct means includes lies on the aspect of the roles played by the authors and the amount of their contributions. Lies. You are lying something. Misconduct meaning doing something that is not acceptable. Um, Not acceptable morally, not acceptable ethically, primarily because it's not yours. And you are assuming that it's yours. Second, listings. This means that authors who deserve to be listed are not listed, while those who are not supposed to be there are included in the list of authors. I think this is very clear. So again, those who are part should be included, and those who are not, then they must not be included in the list of authors in your research paper. Robbery. What is robbery? In research, robbery means it is an individual's original idea is taken by indi- another author individual who appears to be the authors. This means that there is a copy, a getting of something that has no consent of the original writer. Meaning, you get the idea, put it in your research paper with no consent, not even citation of the real owner or the real writer of that research. So technically, you are robbing, no? Not just the idea, not just the word, but the concept itself. And it is not ethical. Permit. What do you mean by permit? Permit refers to an individual is listed as author without his or her consent. That means if you want that author to be part of your research writing or research paper, you must have to secure approval from the author to be included in your research. I think this is very clear. Second, conflict of interests. What does it mean? Conflicts exist due to personal relationships, academic, competition, and even the passion to learn, which can adversely affect the objectivity of the researcher and the entire research study. Again, if there is conflict of interests because you are part of the academic or with relationship of maybe a participants, at the same time you are part of the researchers group, then there is conflict of interest. Ethical means you have to weigh in because in one way or another, it's only you who can really be true to yourself. When you think it is not fair enough, and when you think it's bias because of conflict of interests or there is conflict exists, then most probably you should be offed so that um, results of your research paper will not be compromised. Plagiarism. What does plagiarism mean? It says here, a malpractice where an author deliberately uses the research work of other authors without proper citation or permission. So meaning to say, deliberately, intentionally, you use the research work without proper citation or permission from the author itself. That is plagiarism. In this world of digital technology, this is not it's not common to everybody that we've seen a lot of research output, research writing in the internet. And there is nothing wrong in using it as our references. However, you just have to ask or look for or seek for permission and somehow properly, you know, cited that author in your research. That's the ethic. There are forms of plagiarism, and one of this one is literal copying. Literal copying meaning it's a copy and paste method, like words and phrases without permission. So again, this is very clear. You copy all the manuscript and paste it in your research paper. The other one, substantial copying, meaning using of research materials such as tables and instruments from other researchers without permission or consent from the author is again a form of plagiarism. Another one, paraphrase plagiarism, using another author's ideas in a way that the material is not copied word for word but general concept and essence is same without prior citation is also called plagiarism. Classmates, plagiarism does not only imply with words, with changing, paraphrasing the words, the sentences. Plagiarism is copying technically on the concept of the research. You might rephrase it, you might change the word, but the concept cannot. And still, that is that is form of plagiarism, especially if you don't acknowledge and cited the author, the rightful owner of that research. Another form of plagiarism is text recycling, which is also called self-plagiarism. This is when parts of an author's own published work are used or reproduced in his or her new publication without citing the original source. Meaning, old paper, research paper, and you reproduce it for your new publications without acknowledging the previous author or the original source. It is still a form of plagiarism. Another one is simultaneous submission. What does it mean? Bullet 1 says simultaneous submission, meaning the responsibility of a researcher to ensure that the paper he or she is submitting for publication is original and has never been published before. So it's ethical standard to always ensure that submitted research paper is original and has never been published before. Bullet 2. Avoid submitting the same paper to two or more publications at the same time. Bullet 3. It is ethical to submit a paper to one publication and wait for its decision. Bullet 4 says if paper is not accepted, that is the time the researcher may submit it to a new publication. So meaning to say, when you talk about simultaneous submission, you have to make sure first that the paper you have submitted is original and it's coming from you. Second is that you only have to submit one paper to a particular publication one at a time and wait for the decision. Now, in case it is rejected or not accepted, then that's the time you are going to submit it to other publication. 5. Fraud. Fraud in research mean It is an ethical practice when a researcher publishes data and results without actual conduct of research. This is very obvious, meaning data is fabricated, and manipulated. It's fraud, meaning you tend to do something that is not actually happening. You pretend to do something, or you have done research in the past when truth is you did not do anything. It's an intentional um, it's an intentional fraud and to mislead other people by pretending to be doing a research when the truth is you did not. Salami slicing. What do you mean by this one? Salami slicing is an ethical practice of dividing a research paper into parts of subsections and sending these parts for publication. So, what will happen with salami slicing is that you get your introduction from other author, from other research. The same with your scope and limitations from other research. Maybe statement of a problem also is coming from the other research paper or coming from other author, and you put all these things into one research paper, research writing. Guys, it's very unethical. You are not just only lying other people, guys, but you also lie yourself because of pretending something you are not. Smith 2003 says there are five principles of research, which I am going to discuss it one by one. But to sum it up, these are: number one, discuss intellectual property rights frankly. Two, be conscious of multiple rules. Third one is to follow informed consent rules. Fourth is respect confidentiality and privacy. And fifth is tap into ethics resources. Discuss property frankly mean that you need to publish or perish mindset will cause a big trouble when it comes who gets credits in authorship. This means, guys, that before you start with your research, you have to again um, make a discussion amongst yourselves just to create a a better understanding of who will get the credit. It's just that you are just um, creating a mindset that when your research paper is done, who amongst you can be part of it and but um, can receive the credit. Because a lot of things happened right after the research writing is done. We'll have this conflict primarily because the other one would like to be acknowledged and the other may be acknowledged. So to be clear, first hand, you need to discuss first your intellectual property frankly to avoid trouble in the future. The other one is be conscious of multiple rules. One example is when an instructor of research also serves as an advisor for research paper for his or her students. Meaning to say, if you have multiple rules, be mindful of what is going to be your tasks to perform whenever you are performing two functions, no? Like what will be your role as an instructor, what will be your role as a advisor of the research paper, so that it may not it may not confuse in the future. Because if you are doing multitask, multi rules, there might be an interchange or there might be a conflict of interest somehow. So it's better to discuss it amongst yourselves, and of course, be clear of your tasks, your roles, so that everybody gets to understand your purpose or Whenever you make some advice or comment, etc., you are understood because primarily you are able to share it to the table, your multi-functions in the research writing. Third one, as part of our five principles for research ethics is follow informed consent rules. Meaning, the participants must be informed of the following. First is your purpose, expected duration, and procedures of research. It's good to know everything, meaning it's a black and white. You should inform everybody of why you are conducting a research. Number two, the right to decline to participate or to withdraw from the research and its consequences. So meaning what are the parameters or reason for you to decline and for you to withdraw? And what will be the consequences? So that in the middle of your research and you decided to stop, then you would know primarily what are the corresponding consequences if there is. The third one is foreseeable factors such as potential risk, discomfort, and even benefits when the participate. Meaning you have to check and you have to be clear of what are the potential risks that you might into that you may encounter somehow, or discomfort in what are appropriate benefits if ever you are going to participate on that research writing. It is a must that and of course it's ethical to always show them the good and of course the bad, so that in your journey in your research writing, in having encountered some challenges or discomfort at least beforehand, you're honest enough of telling them the truth. The fourth principle of research ethics is limits of confidentiality such as data coding, disposal, sharing, and archiving, and even confidentiality must be broken. This is very, I think, important, the most if not, because right after the research writing or data gathering, you might be wondering where the data would go or kept. And how sure are we that it is remain confidential, secured, so that everybody will not be exposed to harm if ever. So before the research starts, it is best and better if these are should be discussed and everybody should be informed. Fifth, the people who the participants contact inquiries, meaning that before the start of the research writing or research paper, make sure that all the participants, including the writers, the authors, no, are there. Not only for inquiry, but somehow should there be emergencies, should there be concern arising from the research paper that you have conducted. So better yet, guys, you have all the contact lists, the contact numbers of all the participants, including the authors. Another one is, as part of our five principles for research ethics, is respects confidentiality and privacy. The following are included discussions of the limits of confidentiality. These are bullet 1, knowledge on Republic Acts and other national laws. Philippine laws also are, I guess, viewable and readable in the internet. So it's important that we should also be familiar with the Republic Acts here in the Philippines. The second one is taking practical security measures. Again, it's ethical to always consider your exposure to harm, to unsecured places, both you and data. So again, you acknowledge, you determine what are security measures that you will have soon you will be conducting your research. Thinking about data sharing before research begins. I believe so that it is important also to um, be informed, be guided on what are the rules and provision in as far as data sharing is concerned. Because data is very important. It can go a long way. It can make you good or bad. Because data gathering is not about it's not just about informations that you want to get from the participants, but even important details of your participants are there, including you as authors, as writers of the research. So I guess it's good to know and to be informed everybody of what will be the procedures and policies and as far as data sharing is concerned. And another one is understanding the limits of the internet. Guys, we all know and agree that hackers, cybersecurity has always been an issue in as far as internet is concerned. So I'm hoping that we are all familiar on the pros and cons of or in using internet, especially of our data, because we don't know who these people are and we do not know the intention of other people. So as ethical, as part of our ethical standards, it is best to understand the limitations of the internet so that everybody might have a say, or everybody can be aware of, no can be aware of, and of course familiar of, the privacy and confidentiality of our data, especially if we're going to use cyberspace. Tap into research resources, meaning it is very important that any individual who involves himself in research must know their obligations and the resources relevant to ethics to avoid dilemmas. This is what I have been telling everyone, that as we are journeying towards research writing, it is very important to be familiar with our individual obligations and resources so that there is no regrets and there is no pointing of fingers in the end. We are all professionals here, and I guess it's easy for us to ask questions if things are not clear. And of course, it's easy for us to ask questions or to seek help from anybody in the group in case there are things that you are not familiar with. I do believe in the saying that whatever your mind conceive and believe, you can achieve, especially if you are going to humbly um, ask or seek help from other people. So if you think you are not familiar and you are not aware of it, maybe the best thing that you can do as to not to expose our data, our participants, our manuscript, our entire research paper to harm. Please ask. On plagiarism, according to Carver et al., 2011, it says, plagiarism is the appropriation of other person's ideas, processes, results, words without giving appropriate credit, including those obtained through confidential review of others' research proposals and manuscripts. It is considered as the most common form of scientific and academic misconduct. On plagiarism, according to Carver et al. 2011, it has two forms. These are self-plagiarism, which means authors copy of the large parts of one of their previous manuscript word for word, meaning from their own output, they copy large parts of it and of course word for word and use it in their current it's a work current research work. The second one is duplicate plagiarism, which means author submits a previously published work as if it is an original manuscript. It's a total lie and it's an intentional um, committed crime because you are deceiving other people as if it's a new work output, it's a new research when the truth is not. On plagiarism, Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines RA 293, the term published works means works with the consent of the authors are made available in the public in such a way that these works can be sourced from a place and time individually chosen by them. I think this is very clear that if you tend to copy or use one's works, you need to seek consent of the authors. And I do believe that everybody deserves to be recognized, deserve to be cited, deserve to be given importance in as far as writings is concerned. Because it's not easy to be a researcher, not even an author. And I hope as a newbies in this field, we shouldn't forget to be grateful of other authors, especially if we manage to use or to formulate our ideas and opinions, our concept with their writings. So let's all acknowledge them. On plagiarism, there is two rules on copyright ownership. Number one is, in the case of original literary and artistic work, copyright shall belong to the author of the work. The other one is in the case of works of joint authorship. The co-authors shall be the original owners of the copyright. In the absence of agreement, the rights shall be governed by the rules on co-ownership. Apologies, actually it's three. The third one is if however a work of joint authorship consists of parts that can be used separately and the author of each part can be identified. The author of each part shall be the original owner of the copyright of that part that he or she has created. The following are acts of plagiarism. Number one, when an individual is claiming that he or she is the author or original of the author person's work. Very obvious. You claim on something you don't belong. The second one, when copying the whole written work or even words, idea, or sentences from someone without acknowledging him or her. Like I said, acknowledgement and proper citation is very important. Third one, when one fails to put quotation marks on a quotation or excerpt from an outside source, it is being copied or copying being copied word per word. Guys, especially that if we are getting words that we think is applicable to our research paper and it's in quotations, please, we need to acknowledge the author of it. Meaning, we're copying it from the other author. Fourth one, when one gives incorrect information about the source of a quotation, as I mentioned, again, kay Juan, kay Maria, kay Maria. So make sure we have correctly written the source or the writer of that said quotation. Fifth, when changing words or ideas from a source without giving credit to the real author or source. Changing words or ideas. And again, without giving credit to the real author or source. Guys, it is still a plagiarism and it's unethical. When changing words but conveying the idea and using the sentence structure of the original source without acknowledging the author. Again, words, sentences is not only the basis for plagiarism. Some might say that the words are being rephrased, the sentences were changed. But what about the idea? What about the concept? Has it changed? Because if not, it is still a plagiarism. No, to avoid, guys, no, on plagiarism and um, being um, being or to be avoided, no? Or to avoid plagiarism and may not be a part of those who will be, you know, will be answerable to law, to our law criminally. Guys, we need to make a citation of who is the rightful author of that research paper. Paraphrasing maybe, quoting, and of course referencing. These are four of the most important thing you need to do to avoid plagiarism. Citation meaning it is the complete source of references which is placed after the copied phrase or sentence using the prescribed format of citation. Please see the example. Paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is the process by which the information to be lifted is rephrased into one's own words or based on how you understood the information. Quoting. When using materials from one's own former writings, one has to quote himself or herself or paraphrase to avoid self-plagiarism. Block quotes or quotes of more than 40 words should be avoided since it is already long. Guys, it should not be more than 40 words. Referencing. This is done in conjunction with citations. The prescribed format must be followed for this. The following are the different forms of authorships. There is coercion authorship, honorary authorship, mutual support authorship, and ghost authorship. And fifth is denial authorship. Now, what is coercion authorship? Coercion authorship, according to Strange 2011, this form uses intimidation to gain authorship by force. I mean, I've not known this one yet, but it's very clear that you are intimidating someone just to get the authorship of a specific research writing. So I hope none of us here in our class somehow will be using this kind of authorships in a form of intimidation just to gain authorship. Honorary authorship. This is also called a guest or gift authorship, accorded to an established author or friend to gain favor or to give the paper for a greater legitimacy. What do you mean by this one? This is the writing of a friend, a research paper of maybe a close relative, and given to us in, we have it and we're given that right, no, to own that research paper as a gift, no, from our friend. No? So I hope Guys, we will not do this one because it's very unethical when you own something that you don't work for. So I hope that um, we have to acknowledge what we think is we did our best for. I mean, it's not an easy journey, but guys, claiming something that we don't do or we didn't do is it's very unethical. So I hope if somebody offers you with this one, please big off. And alam ko kaya natin to eh. The other one is mutual support authorship. Two to more investigators include their names as co-authors of each other's papers to enhance their perceived productivity. What do you mean by this one? So again, no including names of other individuals just to show to public that they are productive. Guys, it's not bad to include someone in our list of authors. But please make sure that you have contributed also something to the book or to the research paper that we're conducting. So that um, it's also fair enough to everybody who done their bests or who did their best just to provide or just to come up with no the research paper, because this might somehow cause trouble if we allow anybody or someone that is not religiously part of the group and yet just to give or to show to people that they are productive and you include them to the paper that we have just finished is something that is unethical and something that may lead to trouble in the future. So to avoid that one, please, if they want to be included, then they should work along. Uh, uh, they should work with us, no, along with our participants, so that we are all productive. Ghosts authorship. What do you mean by ghost authorship? This involves papers that are written by people who are not included as authors or are not acknowledged. This means, guys, that there is this author, there is this writer that again part of the research paper, but then again are not included. And there are authors, legit authors of a research paper, but then again are not acknowledged. So there is something wrong with it. So I guess even you, my dear classmates, working hard on a particular research paper, hoping that you will be acknowledged, you will be part of the list of authors, and then suddenly you are not included. I think that is not fair. Denial authorship. Denial authorship means a work is published without acknowledging or bestowing authorship on people who made substantial contribution to the work. Guys, you are denied. You are being denied. You who did your best, who works hard for the research paper, but then again, you are not acknowledged. There was no manifestation that your name is written in the list of authors, even if, or even though, you have contributed a lot to the paper that we have just finished. So again, it's unethical. It's unethical in the sense that he who made substantial contributions were not acknowledged and is not written as part of the author. That concludes my repertorial tasks It's entitled Ethical Guidelines and Considerations in Research. I hope I was able to provide you guys with learnings and lessons that is essential to our research writing journey. And I'm not perfect. I may not given you the full informations, but if there is lacking in it, guys, please, I would really appreciate to ask me or to research more so that we as a team, as a student, we can be productive and we can be um, the best researchers in the future. God bless you, everyone. And once again, I am Giovanni Castillo. Thank you and good afternoon.